All right, welcome to the latest edition of the Running Coaches Connection podcast. I'm Takashi Gould. I'm the boys head coach at Skyline High School for the boys cross country and track and field programs. As always, with me is Coach Rowe, my compatriot here. Is Skyline women's head coach at cross and track, as well as Dave Lustig, who is the Wyandotte Roosevelt coach for the women's cross country and track and field team. This is one we've been looking forward to for a while. We're hoping to get it out a little bit earlier, but with some scheduling difficulties, we're getting this out to you now. We have Nancy Smith from Northville High School, Northville, Michigan. Nancy, thanks for making time and joining us today.
Thanks for having me, you guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, this is awesome because, we get the last couple of podcasts that kind of reached out to people outside the state. So, the initial start of all this is like we started talking, we wanted to pick coaches within the state, and then obviously things grow and things change and adapt. But it's like this is cool because we get to kind of bring it back home here, for at least this weekend and catch up with everyone and see how things are going amidst a really dense cross-country season right now. So, I was wondering if you could just kind of loosely touch up on, I know I was talking to you quite a bit about your background and such, but if you could kind of touch up on that and, how did you get involved with the sport of cross-country and then Northville and so forth?
Well, my background really isn't as a distance runner. My background comes from being a sprinter for Plymouth-Salem High School back from 83 to 85. I was on their 4x1, 4x2, and 200-meter dash along with the long jump. So I had very little background in distance running at all. I had a lot of my best friends ran distance and ran cross-country and all that, so I kind of knew a little bit about it, but I was strictly a sprinter. I hated anything above the 400. So that's the background. I didn't want to do anything over that. I loved practice. I had great coaches in high school. I had two of the best basketball coaches who are our track coaches, Fred Thoman and Bob Bloom, who coached basketball forever there. And so they pushed us very hard, and it wasn't like you could ever give up. If you didn't want to practice, they would send you home, which is much different than today, I think. The way I got into distance coaching is my first job was at Jamboree High School, and they didn't really have a cross-country team, so I started up the cross-country team there in 1992, and I was there for 5 years. At the same time, I coached their track and fields, both boys and girls. From there, I went to Redford Union High School, and I taught at Hilbert Junior High, and I worked with Kevin Pasick, who I think is still coaching at Upper Ford, but I'm not really positive. And I was his assistant for a few years, and then I took over the head coaching positions for both track and field there and cross-country with the guidance and mentoring of Bob Olette, who is now at Franklin High School, works with Dave Borkman over there. So it kind of grew on me. I started loving, during the cross-country season, distance running more than I loved sprinting, but at the high school level, track, I was still coaching sprints and relays and long jump. When I got hired in Northville in 2002, it kind of all just landed in my plate. The current coach was moving to assistant principal, so when I got the interview and got hired, they said, were you willing to take over the cross-country and track and field teams? And I was like, sure, wow, that would be amazing. So I started coaching there, and from that point forward, I've never left. Cross-country, I was head track and field coach up until 2008, which my main focus was sprints and relays. So that's really how my background started in coaching at the high school level.
That's pretty interesting. I didn't realize you had that this sprint background and this jump background. So that's kind of neat that you're able to transition all that. As obviously, like you said, you had a lot of experience, and as all coaches do, like heading trial and error at a few different places, and as you're going, and that's kind of neat that it's kind of all clicked together for you at Northville. You said it kind of just all landed on your plate. I was kind of curious if you had by that point, did you feel like it's like, holy crap, this is a lot to manage, or was it more?
I didn't really think that because I'm a pretty organized person. So I had workouts from the past that I've always kind of circulated, and I keep a really good file of that. So when I got it, I was a little overwhelmed, but a week later I was heading up to cross-country camp with Chris Cronin, who coaches the boys, and I'd never met him in my life or any of the kids that were going to be on my team. So he kind of helped me get into the movement of things at Northville, and he's led me, given me great advice throughout the years. And so I was able to make a really smooth transition. It was a lot different coming from Redford Union, where I only had like 7 girls and maybe 7 boys at the most on my cross-country team. And at Northville, I came in, and our teams were, in the high 20s, sometimes the low 30s. So that was the biggest adjustment, trying to get it all organized. And sometimes we didn't have an assistant coach, so it was just me. So it wasn't a big transition. I was younger then, so it was a lot easier because I had a lot of free time on my hands.
So, Nancy, for those first, 5 or 6 years when you're at Northville, you were coaching the cross-country team, coaching distance kids, and you still not the relationship there. Then, going into the track season, you're going back to working with really probably where your heart truly was with the sprinters and everything. How was that transition for you? Did you ever find those distance runners were coming to you for help, or, you just kind of maybe lean in a little bit more on the distance workouts during the track season? How did that play out those first couple of years?
For the first few years, I was just strictly sprints and relays. I had a really good coaching staff with me, so I had somebody that specialized in hurdles. I had a former distance runners that would run my distance workout, so I believed in them and trusted them thoroughly with my kids. And since I was overseeing the program, I knew exactly what they were doing. I would give my distance coaches some of the workouts, but mostly I let them just run with the program. And we were very successful. I mean, in 2008, when I left the program, we were conference champs. But we were always sending a 4x8 every year to the state finals. We always had some sprinters that made it to the state finals. We weren't as good as they are now, but I think the times have changed also with the talent level of the athletes that we're getting. So, that was the transition. And then slowly, as surely as I got into the more seasons, I hired sprinter coaches. And then I moved over to distance probably full-time in around 2005 or 6, where I was in charge of the distance kids because that was more my base then. I had kind of gotten out of the sprinting area because I was focusing so much time during cross-country season in developing my runners.
Okay. And so now in the past 6-7 years, you don't have really any access. Well, I shouldn't say any access, but you're not coaching track and field since about 2008, 2009. How does that work out that you're still, you're seeing so much success still in the cross country aspect of things, but you really have a minimal contact involvement during the spring? I mean, it's got to be a fairly tough challenge.
It is a tough challenge. Tim Dalton, who also is our assistant boys track coach, he is the head track coach now. So he has a distance background in himself. So he has done a great job in keeping the kids on task and keeping them developed, that I know that when they come back to me in the spring, that they've been through a good workout. They've been through a great season, and they're still, progressing in the right direction. I find it hard because sometimes I want to be out there coaching them, and I can't. I still try to go to as much as I can, all the big meets, the state finals, where I can actually watch them, see them compete. So that's a little bit of a pull that I get back. I did pick up coaching middle school 2 years ago, so I could actually keep myself busy during the spring, so I wasn't so much, thinking about what was happening. So now I coach the distance kids at my school where I teach, which is a feeder to our program. So that's helped a ton.
That's got to be a real privilege right there to almost groom your future team.
Yeah, I try to groom them. We don't get a lot of distance kids coming in. Like our district at the middle school level, everything is soccer. Mm-hmm. So we're trying to get the kids who play soccer, trying to tell them, cross country is great for soccer players. So this year I have 3 outstanding freshmen that I've coached the last 2 years at the middle school, and we only have 5 freshmen on my team this year. So that's one of our hurdles that we're trying to get better at. Our middle school cross country program is growing in numbers, so we're hoping that we can at least get 8 to 10 each year coming in now. But it is a struggle because cross country isn't looked at in our community as something that's huge.
I understand that. Is there only one middle school that feeds to you guys, or is there another school that you guys compete with?
There's two. We have two feeder schools.
Okay.
Our school has about 1,100 students, and our other middle school has about 700 to 800, I think. So we have a good pool to pick from. They just don't want to come to summer training or conditioning, you know, and then for them to try to come at the beginning of the year when my kids have been conditioning all summer, they realize, oh, that they're, you know, 3 months behind.
Right. So did you notice an immediate kind of a jump from the time you took over the middle school program in terms of your high school product, or was it something that happened over a couple years?
I think it's happened over a couple of years. I mean, we've always had decent coaches at our middle school. So, you know, the kids who have come in that have always been runners are still the ones that are at the top of my program.
Gotcha.
We are getting more quality runners because of the intensity that they're trying to instill in the middle school program. But, you know, I don't think there's been a huge jump. I think it will be great if we can start getting more into our program number-wise. I like to keep my team around 30 to 32. I know Celine has 100.
It's a little small army.
Yeah, a small army. I don't know if I could ever have that many because our team is very close, you know, and they each know each other, and I know them each personally. So I don't know if I would ever want a team as big as that.
With the benefit of the middle school feeder program with still having them hurdles, you guys are still having a lot of success just as a program overall. What other contributing factors do you think that may be?
I think that the kids really buy into the program when they come. I mean, I have everything ready in June for them. So I have our season calendar, and we have, you know, the meets we're already going to attend. Our AD is very good at letting me pick my own schedule. So I get that all organized before we get there. They know when we're going to have team dinners and when we're going to have weekend practice and when we're going to do this, when we're going to camp. They have that all laid out in front of them so they can organize their schedule. And I think that every year our talent gets better. And so people want to be in the program because we're so successful. The same kids keep coming back. There's very few times we lose a kid from freshman year to senior year. And then our recent thing is we're getting a lot of sophomores coming in. So they don't run as a freshman, but they come in as a sophomore because they have a friend on the team, and our team is known to be super close. They do a lot together. They support each other in everything they do. So I think that has a lot to do with our success also. They know what our workouts are. They know, you know, what I expect of them. I'm pretty serious with them, you know. But at the same time, I get along with all of them, but they know the expectations. They know that during the season, cross-country is the number one thing besides academics on their plate. So I think that has a lot to do with our success.
It's kind of almost like in some ways, like that Field of Dreams book, right? It's like if you build it, it'll come. Like, yeah, you have a great team, and is it kind of known in the school, like, hey, this is what the girls' cross team is about, and it's the kind of people they are, and it's like it's a tight bond.
Yeah, our team is very academically high. They're very organized. They're very dedicated. You know, and people realize that. Teachers realize that. Other coaches see that. And they know what to expect from them. So it's, you know, we're supported in the school. We're supported in our community pretty much. You know, we don't get a lot of people that come out and watch us, but when we start doing really well, it's known. So
I thought that was kind of interesting, like you were saying, that, you know, like distance running in, you know, because Northville boys and girls have had a lot. So we know this, everyone in the state knows this. So to say that it's like not like it's something huge, and you have like whether it's team soccer, club soccer, or this and that, and you said, you know, kids find about a little bit later after school starts. They join as a sophomore. I thought that was a little bit fascinating.
Right.
I should have said earlier, because we're looking back at, you know, the track record, so to speak, of your girls, and you have 5 top 5 finishes in the last 6 years. You know, you have an outstanding team this year that's currently ranked number 2 in the coaches poll. You're looking to have great success again.
Yeah.
Kind of like I think said, after you took over, it's catapulted and raised that profile of the team.
Yeah, I think in 2013 when we won the state title, when it wasn't really expected, I think that really propelled our program. Yeah. And then 2014, you know, we were back in the top 5, and last year, we did well despite we had, few of our runners that were injured or couldn't run as well as they did, but we still finished, in the top 5. So that the girls want that. They expect to be up there. When we finish, farther down, then they're not happy about it,
Right.
So
when you said raise the level, you mean like the profile or the intensity of the team and that competitiveness, or?
Yeah, I mean we have internal competitiveness between us. Our top 4 is pretty solid, but they're always competing for 5, 6, and 7 this year. Last year our 7 didn't switch at all. Once in a while we moved somebody in when somebody was out, but this year there's internal competition, which I think makes us even stronger amongst ourselves.
I want to shift a little bit because, last year you touched on that, and I thought, and I know it's just not me here, but with a lot of the people listening, you guys had this unique experience of, so you said, you had the state meet, you had a couple kids dinged up, and you guys took the trip down to Terre Haute, going to NXN regionals, and then you guys, the girls shocked the world, so to speak. Maybe not your mind, but they made a lot of noise. They shocked the world and got second, and they qualified, and then everyone's kind of looking at this like, okay, so what now? With all the, the travel rulings and all that red tape and the guidelines. I was wondering if you can talk a little bit about that experience, and maybe even from the kids' perspective, like,
right.
How do you, what happened and what went on, and then amongst all that, like, how do you keep their focus and, despite all that, the craziness that was going on?
So NXN regionals we started going to about 3 years ago, and like everybody knew, we had sent emails to the state saying, can we participate, and they said yes, as long as you followed certain guidelines. I didn't coach them, so we always had a dad coaching them. Couldn't wear the school uniforms. We didn't provide transportation, no school funding. We followed all that. So went last year, after a poor, from their experience, not a happy state meet experience, because we thought we'd be in the top 3. So their goal coming into that was, let's see what we can do. Let's see how we can come back and bounce back after our state meet experience, because it wasn't the best that they wanted it to be. And we ran great as a team. We had a few career PRs that day. And as we're sitting in the awards ceremony, all of a sudden they're like, on the Michigan team, first in school, history, we were just floored because we had no idea. We didn't know anything about it. So immediately after that point, I called our AD and said, Brian, we got a national bid. And he immediately got on with, start sending letters to Michigan High School and, everything else. The dad who was coaching, has been filling out paperwork, and we're not sure what's going to happen. So we're assuming that we can go. And then we got the blow on that Monday morning after we came back saying that we could not go. The girls, were pretty devastated. But they thought, we're going to keep training. Maybe something can happen. Maybe it will be reversed. And they kept saying, so we had to contact Nike and say, we need an extension. We're kind of in a loophole right now. Michigan High School is saying we can't go because it's a national championship and things like that. So I tried to just keep them, I had to stay out of the loop. So, the dad just kept, giving the workouts, and they kept training, and, they were getting their pictures taken, and people were calling us, and papers were contacting them and everybody. So it was a media frenzy. When we finally got the final ruling later in the week that they couldn't go, we were devastated. So our parents, who are pretty proactive and pretty into cross country, they formed a group of the 7 parents, and they got representation from a lawyer. And they contacted the MHSAA and said, this is what we want. And they kept coming back that it was a national championship. And we tried to say it wasn't a high school national championship. It was a club team, because Nike a few years back changed that wording. I'm sure you guys know about that, where they took out the team championship and changed it to club. So we were legal. We had formed a club. Even though it was in our school, we had changed our name. So that was where it started from. The girls, were really down. They were really, upset that a lifetime opportunity was being taken away from them. After we had followed all the protocol up to this point, saying, we were a club, we were following the rules, everybody knew, and along with other teams from Michigan who also had went.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where it kind of got, a little bit, what do I want to say, dicey. And we agreed to have our lawyers and their lawyers meet. And at the time, they were coming back saying that if we went, my girls would be suspended for a whole year, which we weren't going to do that. So we were willing to forfeit at that point. And then we came to some terms, and it was supposed to be, just between us and Michigan High School, and then everybody knew. So at that point, we had agreed to a 3-meet suspension, which was fine with us. That was like nothing because the girls, could just train through the first 3 weeks of the season. I could, put the meets in that we always go to and not have to worry about it. So our 3 track seniors missed the 3 meets during track, and then my cross-country girls, the 4 of them, missed the first 3 meets of the season, which they handled perfectly.
So you said they missing 3 meets, so it's just like on the whatever first 3 meets you have on the calendar? It's just kind of like...
the first 3 meets on our calendar. We, we just scheduled our normal 3 meets. Our goal was to try to get them back before Bath because that was our first big competition where we could see them again. So we missed our own invite, which is a big one that we host with 23 schools. And they missed the early bird in Saline and the early bird at Huron Meadows. Those were the 3 that they missed.
Do you think, with what happened, obviously this is the first time ever for a team from Michigan experiencing this. This is like something almost like you guys have set not just a standard, but a blueprint of how we can get more exposure, our kids more exposure in the state. The team X from up north comes down and, they qualify okay, so this is kind of a platform and things that Nancy had to go through. Do you think that's something like that, or do you think that MHSAA will kind of respond differently to it?
We were hoping that. Recently, our AD contacted Tom Rashad from Michigan High School in regards to, because the new ruling that came out this year said that, a team could apply for 30 days in advance to go to a competition. But from Michigan High School's perspective on it, it can't be, the team cannot be a team composed of 7 individuals from the same high school. It could be 6 individuals and somebody from another high school that could compose the team, or they could go as individuals, which at Nike you have to all remain from the same high school, just like at New Balance Nationals. To have a relay team, they have to all be from the same high school. So now that we're at the point where they're basically saying that no team from Michigan can participate in the Midwest or at the national level for our latest conversations with them. So we're kind of disappointed. We were hoping, our girls were hoping to go again this year to see if we could get back again. So right now we're at a roadblock again, which is disappointing in my eyes and disappointing, I'm sure, in most coaches' eyes.
Right. That's amazing. That's insane to me. That, I'm not sure why the archaic sounding ruling. It's you're literally holding kids back, and you don't want them to gain that experience. So.
Right. So I have written in the last week. I've written an email to Nike, proposing a few things like, can we have somebody from our local community that goes to Novi be on our team? Can we bring a 7th or 8th graders like the New Yorks and the East Coast schools do? Because if you look at the results, they had 7th and 8th graders on their team, but they allowed them to run with the high school team. So, and I have not heard back from them in regards to that, hoping that, that might be a solution to all Michigan teams. But then I think they'll consider that we're an all-star team, so which then they wouldn't allow.
I read some of that from the MHSAA, that new rule that came out and everything. And, as I was reading that, it just, all I kept seeing was, it should have been in the quotations, the Northville rule or something, because it seemed like it was written in direct regards to eliminate those opportunities for, what your girls earned last year. And so it was disappointing to see. And hopefully, with you pushing, we'll have some success with that. And we appreciate you writing those letters, because it's not just going to impact you and your girls. It's going to impact a lot of schools, hopefully, in Michigan. So keep up the good fight with that, and we appreciate that. And, and Nancy, you did touch a little bit about, like, how the girls responded, not only to, the fight they had to deal with in November and now, the suspensions that they had to serve. Like, what about, like, the families and the school and, like, just Northville itself? Because obviously that's a city that said, even though, you're not getting the support necessarily at the cross-country meets, but the city knows you're doing well, and then they hear this news. Like, what was the response from people outside of just the girls themselves?
Our community, like, our parents are very involved in the community. One of our parents who was a huge lead, Mindy Herman, she sits on the trustees for Northville. So, like, they were all behind us, and, all the parents are well known, so everybody was behind them. And, they were supporting us and supporting everything they did. And the girls were being really good about it. Like, Michigan High School wanted a gag on social media. So the girls, didn't put anything on social media until we were told that we could go. And then they were allowed to post, excited that we can now go. So they didn't talk to the papers themselves. Their parents dealt with all that, which was really good, because we were getting calls from Miles Split and Die-Stat and, all these local papers wanting to put the story in there to get everybody else to know what was happening. And then, when Granville went through the whole wrestling team, when I think their state was suspended, they couldn't go to the state finals because they did too many meets. All that all came together, and, I think that everybody was going back to, that Michigan High School is stopping kids from having these wonderful opportunities. So, we had, Aaron Finn supporting them from Michigan, and coaches from around the college circuit emailing us and parents saying, that they were for us and they would contact the Michigan High School. We got, hundreds of people to contact Michigan High School thinking that maybe a change would come. But as far as we know, nothing is coming. So
that's tough. I know I was one of those coaches that stands by you through all of it, because I don't, on one level, these kids get an experience of a lifetime, and and they earned it. They're that good. They belong there. They should be able to compete at that level. And then on the other side, it makes the state look better. So I don't get the ruling. I think it's just archaic. It's like a double negative. It just cancels itself out.
And our fight was always with our talk with the discussion with Michigan High School. I sat on the regional task force team, so Cody and I get along really well. And before that, he wasn't involved in it. I'm trying to think of who it was before Cody. It's slipping my mind. He had given us the confirmation that we could go. Yeah, Mark Yule gave us the confirmation that we could go to the Midwest region, the qualifier. When me and Ryan Robinson talked to him at the Michigan High School at the MHSAA conference when we went the first time, and we had the email from him. So we really didn't think anything had changed. Of course, we never probably thought we would make it to the national level, but we were always allowing individuals to go there. We were always allowing relay teams to go to the New Balance track, indoor and outdoor. So we didn't really understand the difference, that you're allowing individuals and lots of individuals to go, but you weren't allowing a club team who had followed all the rules.
Right. So just taking all of it into account with what happened and the experience and the penalty, I know I'm a pretty stubborn guy. I always keep myself in the principal's office because I just find myself fighting for the kids no matter what. If the scenario presented itself again, would you do it?
If we could do it again and take the 3 suspension penalty, we would do it in a heartbeat. Definitely. It was a lifetime experience. Those kids loved it. They loved everything about it. It helped that we were we were covered by such media, because they just were treated like celebrities, and they were treated like, everybody was excited that they were there, and they were representing Michigan, and, they had fought the system. So if we could do it again with a 3-meet suspension, I would do it again. I would never put my kids out for a year, and I would never allow them to take that penalty either. So.
Yeah. Do you see a difference in the kids now, the ones that went, in terms of how they just go about the sport, not just in competition, but in practice, and just the little things that the outsiders don't see? Do you see a difference or a growth with them?
No, because those kids were always great workers in the first place. You know, their work ethic hasn't changed. They do wear their Nike stuff a lot that they purchased because we were one of the states that they couldn't just get it.
Right.
So they're wearing their coats, and a lot of them bought the spikes that they raced in that day. And they use them during the season, you know. So they represent themselves the same way that they did before we went there.
Gotcha. So moving forward, now that everything's kind of over, you guys are back to the course. How are you feeling about the season, and how are the kids responding to everything?
So far, I mean, our season is going pretty well. We're having a few struggles right now. Our pack is not as good as we need it to be. We have a solid 1, 2, 3. We're working on our 4 and 5 right now. We need to get them a lot closer because our 1, 2, and 3 are so far ahead of them right now by over a minute. We've always had a solid 5 that we didn't really have to worry about. And we have a lot of work to do before the state finals to get us back to where we need to be. Sure, we're ranked in the top 2 right now, but that's just on any given day. I mean, we're facing great competition every weekend. And yesterday we, ran against Seaholm again, and they had 3 before my number 1, which that can't happen. And I respect Seaholm, and I think they're an amazing program. But I think the girls really saw that, and now they realize, oh, we got some work to do.
Yeah.
Nancy, I was wondering if you can. I just had this one question in my mind. Again, this was a while back. I probably should have interjected then. And if you could kind of touch on, you mentioned your involvement with your feeder program, and and then you being the high school cross coach. It's like you find yourself in whether it's scheduling or programming and training design, juggling everything together. Do you find it getting a little too difficult at times, or is it just there's too many bodies around, or is it no, I'm here during this time and then I'm here for them during this other time?
Well, at the middle school, I don't do it until the spring. So at the high school, we start practice every day at 3. So we're here 3 to 5. We compete on Saturdays, and normally I bring my top kids in on Sundays to either pool and weight, or we do a hard workout, because Mondays, our meets are on Tuesdays, so Mondays we can't do a ton. So scheduling-wise, I don't see a conflict at all. And during the school day, since I'm at the middle school, that is probably my hardest thing, because I taught high school for 10 years before I got transferred to the middle school, and I saw my girls every day, so during the day. So now it's just if they need something, they have to text me or email me, or try to get a hold of me, because I don't have contact with them during the day.
But that's got to be kind of neat. And I was going to say, it's got to be kind of neat in the sense, I don't know, it pulls you away from the high school girls that you're in season with, but at the same time, now you're at the middle school and you're developing that if you're not coaching them until the second half of the year, you're probably developing that relationship first, just as the teacher-student, mentor-mentee.
Yeah, and it's kind of good because a good coworker of mine is now the cross-country coach, and so I talk with her a lot more, and I can give her help and give her ideas, and her program is growing. Her program, we have 6th graders now, of course, but they have close to 90 kids in their squad. So and I see those kids every day. So when they wear their cross-country jerseys in my class, I'm like, oh, got to meet today. Who do you have? And then when they come back the next day, we're talking about how they ran. And I have a lot of siblings in my classes that I have their siblings on my team. So it's kind of a really neat transition, because we can talk about, their sisters, and I can talk about how they ran, and then I can talk with the sisters when I see them after school about how their sister ran. So it's really kind of neat.
That's got to be cool, especially if there's a gap, it's the families tie back in. It's hey, Coach, how's it been? There's a 2-year gap, but then you have these repeat parents able to help you with stuff. And that's
one thing about our program is we've always had siblings of siblings. So, we had the Barretts together, and now Alexa's running at Indiana, and I got Anna, who's my junior. And then I had a whole family second family of the Zimmers. So I had the 2 Zimmer sisters. Now I have the cousin of the Zimmers. And then I had the lines. One's in middle school, one's on my high school team. So it's just kind of they kind of see what their sisters go through, and then they want to be a part of that.
Right.
So it's
kind of
really
like
neat.
Promotes and feeds into that, like you mentioned, that tight-knit community, that bond, and
right.
You know, and those girls hopefully have a reference point, not just from their cousins, but from now aunt and uncle. That's really cool.
Right.
I wonder if you could also maybe think about, like, in your eyes now, and again, you have that unique view because you got to experience and see so many things that no one else has yet in the state, you know, through obviously the NXM process, but in you being just having this fencing background and a distance coach now, like where do you see our sport growing into? Like, you know, cross country is something that is, in participation wise, we've seen the MHSAA stuff. It's grown every year the last decade now. You know, where do you think the next step might be, or what do you think is good for the sport?
Oh, I don't really know. I mean, I'd like to see some of the restrictions released during the summer. I mean, if the kids don't want to come, they don't need to come. But if we could, you know, move camp to a different time and not be in violation and things like that, that would be great, because then we could, you know, we wouldn't have to go. We always go to camp right when our season starts. Like we leave that Sunday. I'd like to go to camp, you know, maybe earlier, but then we're in violation of the dead time, you know, and things like that. So I just think that overall, just there's too many restrictions. I know that Michigan High School wants to, you know, give kids time off and things like that, but they put so many restrictions on the kids and the programs that I think it sometimes hurts them in the end, hurts the teams in the end, you know. And then every year my kids come in better shape. And so, like we were talking the other day, that back in 2004, you know, an all-state runner was 19:10. Now to be an all-state runner, you have to go 18 minutes or something, you know. So the quality of runners just keeps getting more impressive. And so I have to keep challenging myself to give my kids workouts that will challenge them and make them better runners.
You know, about that all-state thing, you know, like I'm with you on that. I remember, like, you know, if you look at 10 years ago, boys and girls, you're right, it's not even close. So what it takes to be all-state, you know, why do you think that is? Like, what do you think has changed all of a sudden from 10, 15 years ago, you know, when you were first starting as a coach at Northville? You know,
I think that we didn't. I think a lot of it is summer conditioning. I think back when I first started, I don't remember my girls ever really running in the summers. And now they, you know, end track season, take a few weeks off, some of them going, you know, all the way into June at New Balance for track. And then, you know, they take a week off and then they're ready to go again. I think it's just the level of training and the commitment level has changed dramatically from then. I think that's huge. And, you know, we've added, you know, dynamic stretching, which we didn't used to do before. We added more weight room. Our school offers a summer strength program where a trainer from Total Performance comes in 2 days a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays and works with my team for an hour each time. So I think that has made us stronger physically. We're able to withstand a little bit more injury. We don't notice as many injuries. Our injuries basically come from kids who didn't run track season or haven't put in much mileage over the summer.
Okay. That's pretty neat that you have, like, a lot of tie-ins as well. So you have a group of people coming into your school, or you have a set strength program that's been obviously not just keeping your girls healthy.
Yeah, and it's offered to all of our sports teams, and it's the teams that want to do it. They're scheduled each an hour, 2 days a week in the summer. And our athletics department pays for it. Our athletic boosters pays for it. So.
Oh, okay. So it's not like that thing in the school. It's completely outside.
No. Yeah, they bring them in from Total Performance. Jim Cabasa runs it.
That's really neat.
I just got one last question for you, and it's kind of just something I've been thinking about. You know, you with your progression in coaching, you going from Cabrini, which is downriver, you know, it's fantastic, Redford Union, and now to Northville. I mean, you know, Northville community is a pretty financially stable community. Things are going well up there for sure. And you talked about, like, the strong parent support. So obviously, you know, getting things for the program is probably not very difficult. You know, when you have great parent support and you have some money to help it out too. But, like, do you ever find that sometimes, you know, you've had, or in the past 10, 12 years, that sometimes the parents want to be more than just supporters of the program. They want to get in your ear a little bit more than what they maybe should. you find that it's happened more, you know, at Northville than other programs for yourself, and how do you handle that?
I would say at Cabrini and Redford Union there wasn't much parental involvement. At Northville, I haven't really had any problems. Normally, if there's a problem, we'll speak together, and basically it's solved. We haven't had many that want to. They know the standards, so they don't really get involved in coaching them. Okay. You know, of course, they always want to give them advice, but I think they trust and believe in the program, and they've seen the success, so they kind of let me do it. You know, I'm really, you know, like if somebody's injured, we'll try to rehab them here with our trainer. But if it doesn't get solved in like 1 or 2 weeks, I always tell them you need to go to the doctor. You need to go see an orthopedic doctor, a sports doctor, and not your pediatrician. You know, because staying in our training room for 2 to 3 weeks isn't going to cure you. You know, we have access to the pool and weight room and things like that, so we do have a lot of resources here that they can go in. Our swim coach is really good at letting us get into the pool if needed. But, yeah, I haven't really had any major conflicts with any, like, parents getting too involved and wanting to step in.
Good.
So.
Happy to hear that.
We all are. So what's the next big meet for you guys, Portage?
Yes, we will be at Portage this Saturday, and we'll be -1 runner, so we'll see what we can do without her. One of my new runners, Nicole, she came from Texas, and she has a soccer game, so this will only be the second meet she's had to miss for me. So we're okay with that. We want to see what we can do, you know, with the team we have, and we'll be challenged, but we'll see if we can step up in other areas and fill the gap in a little bit more. So, and then our dual meet season is basically over. I mean, we have 2 more dual meets left, and this is our last Saturday invite. So our next major one will be the state finals, because our regional, I mean, we have a little competition, but nothing that we have to worry about to get out of. So,
just curious.
What's that?
No, I was just curious because in our conference we do jamborees. What would you prefer? I mean, just throwing it out there hypothetically. If you could just pick it, you had to have a conference schedule. What do you like better, a jamboree or a dual meet?
We would love jamborees. We had jamborees before we switched to the KLAA, and they were amazing. I mean, right now we have dual meets, and I mean, nothing against our side of the conference, but it's kind of weak. So a lot of the times I can sit my top 7 runners and just run my other kids. But it's hard to get a good quality week of work in when you have a dual meet on a Tuesday.
Right. Now, are these like every Tuesday?
Every Tuesday, yes, we have a dual meet. We have 5 of them. So we're hoping that when we're starting our conference is getting downsized next year, and there's talk already that we're going to go to jamborees. So that is our hope, to go back to jamborees.
Yeah, that was my question I was going to ask about. And in that, are there? I mean, there's got to be. Do you see a plus in that dual meet setting of, like, you know, maybe like if it is a competitive meet, like, do your kids learn how to get that one-on-one racing feel, or is it just kind of like it gets so strung out that
it's pretty strung out. Like most of the time, like that is where our course records for our record board of the school are maintained. So. Our final meet this year will be Salem, which will be a good meet for us because they're a great packing team. But most of our girls will probably try to get a record board time, so that will be really the only ones they full out race at. Other times we work on, you know, grouping together, trying to get some of our younger kids to run a certain time where my varsity kids will, like, run with them and tempo them, so we can train basically through most of our dual meets. So that's an advantage to us.
I was going to say, like, that Tuesday, Friday, Tuesday, Saturday, that's got to get pretty brutal on them, but obviously you're finding a way to make it work.
Yeah, Fridays we go at 5:15 in the morning.
When we race on Saturday. You do a morning practice?
Yeah, it's on Fridays only. So we bring in both our boys and girls teams. We come in at 5:15 and do a workout before school. And then they have Friday after school and Friday evenings off to go to a football game. And then it's basically 24 hours until we race again. So we don't go after school on Fridays, ever.
Oh, okay. How long have you been doing that?
Oh, since we started coaching. So,
oh,
yeah. since I came into the program.
Oh, okay. So it's like this is the norm. This is what we do. We wake up
This
early,
is the
like
normal
in the morning. And,
yeah. And we feed them breakfast, and then they go to the class. So.
oh my gosh, yeah.
And with it being AD in its middle school,
yeah.
it works out perfectly. So I leave here probably 7:15. I have to be to work at 7:45, which is only like 3 minutes down the road. So I just go to work a little bit earlier. It does make it a long day on me, but the kids prefer that over anything. So they get to run under the lights on the track, or we send them out in the neighborhood with headlamps on, or So
nice.
Really cool.
You know, what's funny is the morning thing. So when I was back at Dexter, before me it was Dave Testa, and then before Dave was Jamie Dudash, and Dave and Dudash both they both used to do that morning thing like the day before me. And I never thought about the component of like the social aspect. So Friday night, like go to the high school football game, go hang out with your friends.
And our kids are really involved in that. Like they support all the other teams, so they like to go to the football games. They have friends that are cheerleaders on pom, or so that just gives them an opportunity instead of like rushing home after school after their practice, which would be normally around 5. They can go home and take a nap or whatever it may be, and then just prepare for the next day. Yeah. So it works out great for us.
Okay.
And it's like it gives them a chance to be high schoolers too, because a lot of times our kids are not going to the football games, or they're leaving at halftime, or not really spending some of the quality time that they should be doing it when they're in high school, because they want to be ready for Saturday morning, and ready to compete. So that is a really nice thing, that get them out and let them go enjoy being a high schooler.
Because most of their weekends they're busy. I mean, all day 4 or 5 hours on Saturdays they're at a meet, and then Sunday mornings they're going to church or doing homework or tutoring somebody or coming to practice. So it really is their only free time when it's not involved with cross country. So
yeah, I can see definitely how that just eases their mind. That's a real smart idea.
Bro, I got I'm not gonna lie, I have a little bit interested in just finding out, I don't know if it's ever possible, but like the numbers in terms of, so if they're outsourcing their strength and conditioning component for all sports, with some schools will hire somebody to do that full time. Like I wonder how that works out, budgetary wise, number wise, efficiency wise, and all that.
Yeah, and I want to say it's not super expensive. Like Total Performance is pretty big in this area because they're like the soccer hub. That's where like all the indoor soccer is played. And Jim works. I know Novi uses him year round. His company year round. Novi High School uses them. We use them, and I want to say some Walled Lake uses them, but I'm not positive on that. So there's 2 of them that come in, and Aaron was the main one that we had, and he's here Tuesdays and Thursdays. I think he starts at 9 and he goes to 1. So he's here 4 hours. So we're the only ones that we're by ourselves, but like basketball and volleyball will be together, and cheerleading and gymnastics will be together. And so he works with 2 groups at one time most of the time. And not all the coaches take advantage of it.
Is it an off-season, summer only, or?
Summer only, yeah, summer only.
Okay.
And then some of our kids, will go to the facility during winter and get speed training from them. So they go and they use them again, and he gives them a pretty good deal on it. So.
This person have like a background in running as well, or is it more like total sports performance? It's
total sports. It's basically he has some running background, but he does a lot of professionals, Lions players and Tigers players.
Right.
So it's basically just strength and conditioning, and injury prevention stuff. So. Gotcha.
So no, Takashi and I we're in a goofier situation where we have one that's in our building, that's like through the athletic department, but isn't too. Yeah, I'm not sure, but he isn't too bright when it comes to runners. And with our current model, you have to go through him almost to use any type of weights. It's kind of ridiculous because since we stopped using him, our injuries have gone away. So
that is interesting because we can go in the weight room whenever we want. We don't have any monitors in our weight room. We don't have anybody that controls that. But our weight room is very small compared to most.
Right, and that's the thing is like.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have like this goofy like gatekeeper system where I have to like put a quarter in the jug and rub the tombstone. Like, can we please use the weight room?
I mean, our biggest thing is we have to work through football. The football uses it most of the time during the fall.
Yeah.
So we try to go in there at least once a week, but sometimes we don't know. That's why we have to come in on Sundays because nobody's in here.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I gotcha. Yeah, it's just like, it's unfortunate because, like, 90% of the time, all we want to do is go in, grab like a dozen dumbbells, a couple med balls, some Swiss balls, and we can take care of it, But
yeah, like we can get it in and out in like half an hour to 45 minutes easily.
Right.
So
that's how it should be.
That's our plan.
That's how it should be. But we get stuck with different stuff. And I know, like I said, it sounds silly, but really, since we stopped using him, our injuries have gone just away. We just do a lot of body weight stuff, and we use TheraBands a lot, do a lot of monster walking and hurdle drills for flexibility. And things have gone away. And so, as much as I'd like to lift weights, it's kind of the same thought process you're using in the approach to your dual meets, where you can just use your top kids as a tempo workout and you just kind of adapt to the circumstance. And so. Right.
So, I mean, we don't use TheraBands a lot unless we get some knee injuries. But, we have the problem is, we can't always get to the TheraBands because everything is locked up in our trainer's room. So we don't have a lot of access to training, stuff like that.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm. Nancy, where's your guys' home course? Do you have a home course?
Yeah, Cass Benton.
How far is that from school?
1 mile.
Oh, man.
So I take it you guys go there quite often for practice.
Yeah, we do. We warm up there quite often, and like we do all of our training, like our hill training there, which we haven't focused a ton on this year because we don't have many hills that we're running. But yeah, everything is right there. So the park system, Edward Hines, we can go in and go any way we want for 6, 7, 8, 9 miles if we want to just go for a tempo run or anything.
Oh, so like when I think of like that Northville, Novi area, a lot of times, I'm not going to lie, if I drive through it, to me, I see it and I see a concrete jungle. So, but your kids get this amazing opportunity where they're on soft surfaces a majority of their training.
Yeah, the majority, I'd say 50%. And when we do our tempo runs, they tend to run like through the neighborhoods downtown Northville, up by the cider mill. They tend to like to do that. But any of our when we do aerobic fitness workouts is on soft, or our thousands are all at Cass Benton. We do none of the thousands on the track or anything.
Wow, I'm jealous. That's cool. That's
so, and
cool.
I mean, that's also is Catholic Central trains there, Novi trains there. All the Plymouth schools most of the time will come at least once a week there.
Okay. So you get a lot of little cross interactions as you're doing something and then see these other kids there.
Because that's the whole course of 12 different schools.
Wow.
Okay. That's a lot going on.
Yeah, it's a lot of schools.
It's kind of like Hudson Mills in our area. It's like home to like Dexter, Chelsea, Grass Lake, Pinckney.
Yeah.
I think half a second Skyline.
We always have Jamboree 3 there.
Yeah.
Dave, where do you guys run to? Can't you go to, what is it called down there? Patriot? What is it?
Patriots Park, yeah. That's you guys, just listen to you guys. I mean, Patriots Park doesn't compare to a Hudson Mills or a Cass Benton in terms of, uniqueness and like with the hills and just a beautiful area. But no, we get to Patriots Park a little bit. Elizabeth Park has some options, but really the course down here for us is Lake Erie Metro Park. That's it's a regional site. We go, there's a couple invites there, so we try to get there a fair amount to just kind of get the kids acclimated and make sure that they get used to it. The kids love that course, but I think it's probably one of the most boring courses out there, and you can tell Dennis that. It just a lot of places where it's just wide open and just if you're not focused, you can blink and just there's just not great for spectators in some spots. But
because I remember we used to go to Patriots Park when I coached at Jamboree. But
that's still the News Herald course and everything. And actually, we do our friendly with the Skyline guys over there, and we do a little 3-by-mile repeat session in late August. So even Takashi and Roe got to know Patriots Park the last couple of years.
Place sucks. I'm just kidding.
No, the friendly is a lot of fun, man. It's a lot of fun.
The friendly is awesome. It was one of the greatest ideas ever created by three schmoes. So, like, you've mentioned, like, traveling to places. Like, obviously, you have the park nearby your high school campus. But you and I have bumped into each other quite a few times over in the Arboretum here in Ann Arbor. So I was wondering, like, if you could talk about, like, your program's history with that. Why the Arb? Is there a connection there that you guys have? And I was like, why drive all the way this way?
We started going to the Arb. We've had quite a few runners go on to Michigan, and they've always told me, the Arb is great. Our boys coach, Chris Cronin, he started going to the Arb, and he first invited us a few years back to have the girls go there. And it's an amazing place to run. That 1,000-meter hill is some of the best and most mentally grueling workout we can get. So we started going to the Arb then. We normally go once in the summer, and we try to go at least once or twice during the season when we can. It's not all of our girls. We only bring our top 10 because not everybody can handle it. So we just love it there. And then, in the summer we make it a day. So we go to the Arb, and then we go over to Argo, and we go tubing, and then we just go home. So we just, it's one of our favorite places to go. And my runners who run at Michigan, they're always like, oh, it's such amazing out here. Ms. Smith, you can do a lot out there. And so they've given me a few ideas. One time we went, kind of snuck onto Rackham, and we were, doing that loop there, that mile loop. And as McGuire comes up, and he's like, Nancy, you can't be here. And we're like, oh, we're just leaving. It's okay. We're just showing the girls this, so.
That's fine. That's awesome. All right. That clears everything up, and that's kind of neat that you make a whole day out of it, though, when you can. Yeah,
during the season we just, we leave right after school, and we'll go out there, and then we'll get our thousands in, and then we'll come home. Mm-hmm. Our boys actually were just there on Thursday, I want to say, their top group.
I think I saw a picture online. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
We'll go there once in a while, like, Road Out takes boys and girls through just randomly over the summer more often. But it's always amazing. Like, I see, when I see you there or the Northville boys there, I see Carl and the Celine guys there. It's amazing, like, because I think it's probably because of the U of M running program's connection to that area and that facility.
I think it is, because they, they've always told us, and how great it is, and they've, whenever they're having really good success, they've always contributed some of it to that Arb workouts even,
Mm-hmm.
So we went there, I think we went there quite a bit in 2013 when we won the title, and I think it just built up my girls' confidence a ton.
Oh, okay. So now it's like, hey, this is what happened in 2013. This is, what they did, what they had to endure.
I'm a huge stat person, so I have stats from, like, all these seasons. So we went there during the summer, and, I said, back in, this is what your sister was running back at this time, whatever. And so we can kind of compare, and, and then they can see, like, oh, yeah, I'm running as good as her, and she was a great runner.
Coach, we really appreciate you, making time and kind of letting us pick your brain about this and that. And you've been in the open book about not just the Northville program, but everything that happened in 2015 for your girls and your community. So we can't thank you enough for spending a few minutes or, a good hour with us. And
I appreciate you guys for taking the time, having me interviewed. I've loved all the previous podcasts, so I'm looking forward to hearing my own, and I'll see you guys on Saturday.
Appreciate it. Hey, you have a good one. Enjoy your Sunday.
Thanks. You guys too.
Take care.